Hello. My name is Dr. Nina Desjardins, and I'm your moderator for this session, or this conversation, I should say. So I hate talking about myself, so I'm just going to use some words my husband uses to describe who I am. I'm a psychiatrist hell-bent on saving the world from itself. And that's how I ended up here today with these two formidable women. Both are Canadian writers of Celtic descent and exactly the same age. Both are of Celtic descent, and both are launching new books today. Diana Beresford-Kroeger has brought us to Speak for the Trees, my life's journey from ancient Celtic wisdom to a healing vision of the forest, out from Penguin Books, Random House, Canada. Penn Kemp is launching a collection of poems, River Reverie. Diana and Penn are each going to read for 15 minutes, and then we're going to open up the conversation to you. Penn Kemp is no stranger to Wordsfest or to London's artistic community. She's been London's first poet laureate, as well as a writer in residence at Western University. She's presented a number of sound operas at Aeolian Hall and at Western. Penn's latest book, River Reverie, is published by London's own Insomniac Press, as was her 2018 collection, Local Heroes. River Reverie features 100 poems celebrating our river and environs, with photographs by Mary MacDonald. As always, Penn loves collaborating with local authors. QR codes in River Reverie link to poetry films by Mary MacDonald and by Dennis Siren, as well as recordings of Penn reading. So I'm going to welcome Penn to take the podium.
A delight to be here at the 6th Word Fest. So I'm thrilled to be launching my book of poems for the Skinissippi, the Thames, the river, the Antler River, which we should rename. Diana and I both believe in the power of poetry, of story, to communicate the sacred, to communicate mystery. And I've chosen the books, the pieces that I'm going to read from River Reverie that speak to both the river, to London, and to Diana's work. She actually wrote the foreword to this book. And the basic thesis, if poetry can ever be boxed into a thesis, is how to translate the imaginal realm, how to articulate that, and how to articulate hope into action for climate change. So this is a piece that is actually part of a DVD that was done, edited and taped by Dennis, a brilliant videographer at Aeolian Hall, and it had a number of local people, Brenda McMorrow and Ruth Wright and Robert Menegoni and me. And so what we've done, not me, but people who know how, is affix QR codes. So you have an app on your smartphone and you tack it to the page, and the video poem that Dennis did leaps to your eyes and ears. River Reverie. Water abounds here with this river, 5 times normal. For winter, flooding roads and parks. The swell carries whole trees along stampeding currents. Yellow willows drop 50-year-old boughs in high winds. You cannot hear me? Is somebody saying that? What? You can't hear me, Judith?
No, I can hear you, but that's fine.
I would not like not to be heard in my 13 minutes of fame. Climate change, is that better? I hope climate change is better. That's not in the poem, no. Climate change is certainly upon us. From 11 below to 11 above in hours, sinking back below freezing. Green begins to bury the remnants of flood, the wall of last fall's leaves, packed level against link fence. Weird how all reverberates in spring clarity as old detritus is dredged. My rant runs along river in long twilight along the shore, a migratory route for warblers alighting in cottonwood, a trill unknown we cannot now locate, since sound is not where sight is, and the willows are leaving out the paw-tracked mud, the grocery cart obliterated by winter storm, back to origin, a mess of twisted rust like an old fishing weir. The current courses by standing waves, standing in momentary eddies against momentum. I selected a couple of poems that were dedicated to trees here in honor of Diana's work and her new book, To Speak for the Trees. This one is called Wind Chime. It's also done as a sound exploration on www.riverreverie.ca. And I chose the old-fashioned way of spelling River Reverie, which the delightful reporter Joe Boulanger almost corrected me for this absolutely wonderful full-page article in the Free Press on Thursday. The Free Press are amazing at promoting Word, so a shout out to them. Winds Chime. So this one is on riverreverie.ca. Poets give voice to the voiceless, the language we don't understand. A breeze ripples throughout all the aspen siblings down to roots they share across a single source. Source, source, spring, sing sorcery. A single tree may live a century in clonal colonies while its system of roots lasts millennia as the oldest living organism. What would one trembling giant whisper across the river to its neighboring clone? Hold on, hold fast. Changing, elemental mingle. As it happens, chants change, chants chant. In slow, shaky syllabants. And silver leaves quake response. I'm in a kind of timeless zone, which is not good for timekeeping, so we have a timekeeper here. But this poem I want to get out, so even if I have a time to read one more, I want to get this one to you. It's called In Celebration Forest, and it was commissioned by Joni Beckler, our dear mayor. who I wish would return, for Reforest London, and it's still on the Reforest London site. And I'm dedicating this one to Diana. Mother trees surround us, the very few left from original forest we long paved over, old rotten stumps that settlers burnt to clear their land. Here's to the trees that celebrate soul. We celebrate their spectacular presence. Here's to sugar maple and chanticleer pear, turning burnt orange in fall. And the hickory I climbed as a girl in Medway Farm, lying astride one long branch, intertwined by all those saplings vying for light. The 3 birches on our front lawn, planted when we moved here some 65 years ago, now 70, growing old alongside, dropping our fireplace kindling. The oak above Pond Mills, hidden on a hillside of younger upstarts. The beach behind Attawandaron, where October puffball might pop. The black spruce and tamarack that whisk us into clearer northern air as we walk through Sifton Bog, like winds that wind along each limb. Trees we have known are trees we can meet by species, once connected, always familiar, old friends to greet on any city street or in deep woods. If we can slow down long enough to salute the tree of life in each. Light candelabra of catalpa, horse chestnut, pine, balsam fir, juniper or cedar cone. Sing a litany of names that belong here. Alder, palm of Gilead, willow galore, glorious maple, butternut, sad slips of elm, even intrusive buckthorn. Celebrate those graceful interlopers, the Carolinian, redbud, tulip tree, magnificent magnolia, sheltering here at comfort's edge in snowbelt country. Here's to lacy walnut, honey locust, whose canopies carry us off to African plains. Acacia giraffes might browse, or le douanier paint above his lion. Sycamore is our memory tree, shedding its bark like arbutus, its winter silhouette a ghostly skeleton reminiscent of that other London's plain shaded trees. Trees know their seasons, their reason for being, how each tree reaches out to become world tree. We have so much to learn from our elder, from not living on, but with our place. May we who live in this forest city ensure a name never replace the reality of canopy. Long may our trees flourish, for we can only prosper with our elder brothers, our mothers. 2 minutes left. Oh. I don't chatter. Oh, good. This book is dedicated to my grandchildren and all our grandchildren and all our children and all our elders and everyone. But and the trees in the river. Believe. In the space of a year, Ulla has learned to sit, to stand, to walk, to totter forward in a run. She has seen one full round of the seasons. She wraps her family round her little finger. Now, just before dusk, we stroll hand in hand to witness the evening ritual of geese return. Gliding along the Thames in formation, they skim overhead, flapping slow time in sync. She studies their procedure, dropping my hand to edge forward, neck outstretched, arms aerodynamically angled. She flaps and flaps along the bank, following their flight, ready for a sudden lift. Again, till the last goose has flown, dragging her heels home, disconcerted. She braces her body against the rising breeze, bewildered that she too can't take off to sky, but game to try again tomorrow, convinced the bird's secret will soon belong to her. Now it's my great pleasure to welcome Diana Beresford-Kroeger. She's a world-recognized author, a medical biochemist, and a botanist. She uniquely combines Western scientific knowledge with the traditional wisdom of the ancient Celts. She was orphaned in Ireland at 11 and educated by elders who instructed her in the Brehon knowledge, the old lore of plants and nature. Told that she was the last child of ancient Ireland, that she would one day bring this knowledge to a troubled future. And through her books, she is doing just that. Her bioplan is an ambitious plan encouraging ordinary people to develop a new relationship with nature, to join together to replant the global forest. I had on another piece of paper down there somewhere an addenda that said that she was granted a honor, a doctor of law. Oh, you'll have to correct me because I'm just going from memory, Diana, at the University of Ottawa this June. And I know that along with 50 others, she is part of a very important book, I think coming out from Japan through the University, Academic University of Cambridge, on forest bathing. So please correct me on that because I don't have my notes with me, Diana. And please buy her book and be enlightened by her absolute wisdom and knowledge of the trees and how they communicate. And right now, welcome, Diana Beresford-Kroeger. We are the triad.
All the time.
Thank you for being here today. Thank you, Pam, Penn Kemp, for your poem dedicated to me. I suppose I have to remember it word for word now. I am the original Irish hooligan.
Yo-ho! I am the one scientist in Canada who can't get fired. Think about that, all you politicians out there. I have a free voice, and in the ancient Gaelic world it is called an saoirse. Many of you have called your children saoirse. The concept is freedom, freedom of thought. As well as being a biochemist, and God knows other things, I have enough degrees to strangle a cat. I am the person who made the artificial blood for tissue transplanting and for open heart surgery. I am the person behind all of that. And indeed, it is now used for chemotherapeutic delivery for cancers. I'm very interested in cancer. I'm very interested in looking at cancer from another point of view, from jogging up the T-cell ratios in the body. Hence, what Penn was saying about me is that I have been chosen to represent Canada for this. Top brains in the world are being asked to contribute to this book under the World Health Organization. It is me, it is E.O. Wilson from Harvard, Barbara Hansen from University of San Francisco, Dieter Koch from Germany, Won Sok from Korea, King Lee from the Nippon, head of the Nippon Medical School, and a couple of others. It is groundbreaking research on the treatments of cancer, immunotherapy, not just forest bathing. And those of you who are involved with libraries, please get a copy of the International Handbook of Forest Therapy, and it is an immunotherapy, world-breaking therapy, and it is coming out from the Cambridge University Scholars Press from the UK. Very, very important book. The thinking behind this book is to protect you, shield you from cancers. And you get a 1 month shielding from cancer in this area by forest bathing, and forest bathing with Pinus strobus, Pinus sylvestris to a certain extent, but mainly Pinus strobus here in London, and the tree is called the white pine. And I would ask the gentleman to forest bathe also with your wife. Let me explain this. The women will do it, and if the men don't do it, blackmail them, right? Refuse to cook for them. Tell them they have to come with you. So 1 month's protection you get, starting right now. You can't do it in February, March. At the end of March, you can start doing it. You go and walk around white pines in this area just for 15 minutes. And not be too fussy. What you do is you fiddle fart around the pine tree. You walk with your shoulders back. You're breathing deeply. You're trying to get the alpha pinene and the beta pinene in parts per trillion that are in the air, they're called aerosols, into the lower regions of your lungs, here. You breathe in deeply, and you breathe in slowly. Then you go around and pick up cones, and if you've got grandchildren with you, sticks. You know, when you were a little kid, all of you were little kids, you fiddle farted in the woods, and you picked up cones, and you picked up apples, and you picked up this, and your parents probably howled at you, but there is a reason behind that. Picking up the pieces of sticks from the Pinus strobus gives you a protection to Streptococcus aureus, which is the flesh-eating disease. You get a full protection from that. So 15 minutes to 20 minutes slowly walking around these trees boosts your immune system, boosts your T-cell ratio and also boosts your neutrophils, the gobbling aspect of your blood. The T-cell ratio is your guard system, and you get a protection for 1 full month. Cheap, at a walk. Go do it. Now I want to talk to you about climate change. You can read about me in my book, To Speak for the Trees, if you want to. Get it out of the library if you want to. And I am asking every single one of you to be my ambassadors. I'm not asking the politicians to be my ambassadors. I'm asking you, because you have a kitchen table, and sit at the kitchen table and talk to people about this, because there is an answer to climate change. First off, 400 million years ago, our atmosphere was not the dicky-boo atmosphere we have today, where you can go out and walk and breathe the oxygen. No, it wasn't. The atmosphere was filled with carbon dioxide. And the great forests of the world have taken 400 million years to pull that carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere into the tree body itself by an extraordinary means of farming the sun. We only know now scientifically the meaning of that. We didn't know it 50 years ago, 20 years ago, probably 15 years ago. We have had a fuller understanding of that. It is very important for you to remember this. The oxygen that you're breathing today into each lobe of your lung is coming 60% from the great forests of the world. And if you cut them down for human greed, you will not be breathing. So do an experiment for me when you go home. Stop breathing for a half an hour. And see how far you get to the funeral parlor on that little truck of not breathing. Every breath you take, you thank a tree. It is extraordinary that 2,000 years ago, there was a protection for the great forests of the world greater than there is now. The commercialization of the forest started with the Romans. They put a price on nature. Nature is everybody's forage. Nature is everybody's commonage. And we need to take that price of nature and throw it away. Because the ownership of sunlight is yours. The ownership of oxygen is yours. The ownership of the great seas is yours. The ownership of the aerosols in the atmosphere is yours. You have inherited your home, the planet, and let no greedy bugger from Park Lane down in New York take it from you. So that is why I am speaking to you and not to the politicians. If we keep going the way we're going, there will be nothing left for our children and even less for our grandchildren. So we have to fix this, and we can fix this very, very easily. But there's a couple of other things I want to tell you. There is a genome in a tree, very, very similar to your genome. There are only 2 base chemicals of a difference, and they're very similar too. The growth of a forest is almost a mirror image of your growth as a human. We are tied to the forests in a way that me, my crowd, my academic crowd as scientists, were just beginning to understand, and we're still destroying them. And I call that foolish, stupid ignorance. I cannot express in greater terms, other than cursing, something that we are being so ignorant about. What a tree does is quantum mechanics, And if you don't like these words, stick your fingers in your ears. It is quantum mechanics. Very simple. This is very simple. Don't any physicist fool you into thinking that this is difficult. Quantum mechanics is very simple. Sunlight comes in a straight vector, a line on the planet. But it also comes in another way that Einstein understood, in a wave pattern called a sine pattern. And that sine pattern of sunlight lands on the surface of a leaf. All leaves, all trees, all over the planet during the daylight hours. The sine wave is a short little wave of sunshine landing on the leaf. And it does a dance, a molecular quantum dance on the leaf, just like a beehive. And it triggers the green of the leaf, the chloroplast of the leaf, to do something that is quite extraordinary. It takes a jump by way of an electron. It pops up with energy. That feeds the world. That pop-up of energy takes one molecule of carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and breaks it in half. The carbon goes into the tree, and I become a very bloody big tree because there is carbon in the atmosphere. And oxygen goes out, rivers out into your lungs. It keeps you alive. That is called an oxidation reduction reaction by all of the chemists in the world. An oxidation reduction, you breathe in oxygen. That's all. You use the oxygen for burning in your body, and the burning in your body is burning up food. You live. That's how you live. That's how you get energy. And we did not know that until recently. 60% of all the great medicines in the world come from trees. 60%. Those of you who have cancers, you can thank a tree, because the cure to your cancer is found in the tree. 60% of prostate cancers are cures coming from the tree. Chemists like me, I cannot manufacture these in 4 dimensions. They come from a tree. While we're cutting down the tree, you remember that you need a cure for cancer. And in the whole world, there is another atmosphere of the planet itself that the Aboriginal people, the First Nations on this continent, have known, the ancient people have known for a very, very long time. We are all connected. We are all connected in our blood. All of us are connected. You hear them saying this over and over again, but I don't think you really realize the facts. The facts are, in the fall, like today, the leaves run to the ground, and the leaves produce an acid, a humic acid that goes into our rivers, like her river, like the Thames outside here, into all lakes, all rivers, all over the world. And that humic acid carries iron from the land. The land is rich in iron. The sea is poor in iron. And those humic acids bring the iron molecule and drop it into the ocean. And that is the feeding foundation of the ocean. Without the forests, we would have no food for the whales, the great mammals of the sea, and the fish in the sea. There would be no food, there would be starvation. And starvation is starting to happen around California because the trees are burning and they have been dry for so long. We have taken down the forests in Canada, and we have to stop it. We have to plant. And by the way, while you're thinking about being a Canadian, okay, one time, I'll give 1 second. The Call of the Forest, my film, the documentary, there was one country forbade us from filming. In this country, Canada was the one who forbade us from filming out on the West Coast. It is the only country that forbade us. So things are not so sweet politically here for some reason. So bear that in mind and file it away. So in the great oceans are connected to the land, connected to the forests, connected to the skies, and our weather patterns are in the skies. There is so much more for you to know. You plant 1 tree per person for the next 6 years, native to native. 1 tree per person for the next 6 years, native to native, is my global bio plan, and we will stop climate change with a shovel and an acorn, and that is all we have to do. It is cheap. Please read my books. Please do that. It is too important for the politicians. We have to stop this, and we should stop beginning the stoppage of this now. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. So we're going to move on to the dialogue portion of our session. I get the honor of asking the first question, Diana, to Diana and Penn. Diana, you wrote the foreword for Penn's River Reverie. You both believe in poetry as a means of articulating what has no words. You both talk about communicating in a language other than ordinary speech. Could you explain more?
This one is for me.
Oh, yeah. This one is for me. A long time ago, I listened to a lot of advice from everybody. The internet has changed our ability to listen and to think. And we also communicate by another kind of language, and it is called emotions. I read Thomas Berry, and he was a Jesuit, and I took advice from him. In my films, in my writing, in my book, I speak from the heart. When I do my charity work, I speak from the heart. And when I do my charity work, I ask for 1 strawberry and 1 cup of tea. A strawberry is an inverted heart. And you speak a language to people of the heart. Animals do to the heart. Or your cat, your dog, your children. It's non-verbal communication. It is the only way to speak to people now. You jump over the problems of society and you go to the soul.
Yeah.
That's how to do it.
And I think to add to that, we also have to learn, as you were taught and have learned, to listen to nature, to listen to the land, to listen to the river, to listen to the trees, because they have so much to impart, soul to soul as well as chemical to chemical. We are trees, we are branching out. All our metaphors are tree metaphors, are river metaphors. But I can't believe this, but the reporter, Joe Belanger, captured what I was trying to say about that ability to listen, to attend, in the article in the Free Press, which is online, Thursday's paper. So for me, it's a quality of attention and listen, trying to articulate mystery, the sacred.
You know, I have to say I'm all fired up by this conversation.
And she's a psychiatrist.
Yeah,
Oh, we better watch out.
And I think I know, I'm pretty familiar with, you can be fired up in one moment and then move on to the rest of your day and you forget these moments where we feel so inspired. So, you know, to both you and Penn, I ask, how do we find courage in these overwhelming times of too much information on climate change and other things? But most of the information we're getting is terrifying. So how do we keep balance and connect to source and the land?
Well, you know, what I do, I have a trick. I'm sorry I'm going ahead of you, Pam. What I do, I have a trick. It seems with all of this misinformation out there, it seems as though you can't trust everybody. That's a very dangerous way to think. So what I do in the morning is I look at the mirror and look at myself, and I know there's one good person in the world. So if there's one, there's a start. So then you go out and look for the rest of you. The whole lot of you, we're all out there. We're all out there and we're all thinking in that way. And when I'm doing the things that I generally do, I think in terms of I take my courage, I put it into a suitcase, and I travel with my suitcase. So if I need my courage, I open the suitcase in my mind, take out my courage, put it on, and off I go. That's all. Now, Penn.
Well, in that suitcase, I also, wherever I go, but especially here, especially at Elsie Perrin Williams' estate, I wander around and hug the trees. I walk by the river, and they teach me, they impart me their patience, their long sense of life. Their presence is so immediate and so real, not to mention the birds, one perhaps a cougar, one coyote, any number of dogs. But there's so much to learn from the other sentient beings that live with us on this darling, dear planet.
A lot of wisdom in a few minutes, hey? So I guess then what I would ask you, every day we're faced with this news of the environmental crisis, and it seems sometimes it's so overwhelming. We can just shut down. It's like we're caught up in the news and the reason, and we forget about the importance of emotion and connection. So I just wonder if you both could speak to the cost of that, of forgetting the emotion at the cost of reason, or for the sake of reason.
Well, it's soul loss, isn't it? I mean, I've been saying the same thing. It's just a quality of attention, where we're putting our attention. For me, it's through poetry, I was raised by an Irish grandmother, so I have a soulmate here across the table chair from me, couch. And there are so many dimensions that we're not aware of, and systems of thought, civilizations of scent in every dog you've ever met.
Let me address this one. As a child, as an 11, 12, and 13-year-old child, I am the last member of an ancient family with a Barahunas, that is a pedigree of 3,000 years. My family lines are in Killarney, and the family seat is the Castle of Ross. You can look it up on the internet if you want to. The laws that I was given is the Brehon laws, and they're the laws that I was tutored under because I was made a ward of Brehon. I'm the last child to hold this knowledge because my family lines were so important, and it's female to female to female in the Gaelic world, Ausgelka. It is not male to male to male, it is female, and as a female, I was the most important person. Addressing all of you would have a Celtic background, and it is the triad, the ancient triad of Celtic people from Scotland all over the Celtic world of body, mind, and soul. We look after our body. Wimpy Burger does that for us, and God knows all the other stuff that you can get, the rubbish that you can buy out there. Body, we regret to say we do not look after our mind. Our mind can get broken too. And our soul. We ignore our soul to the great cost of the planet. And we ignore our mind to the great cost of the planet. In this room, I think we have a consciousness that is shared by everybody at this instant of time, the divine time, which is now. We have the liberty of our life, the gift of our life now. We have the consciousness shared. That is the most important thing we have, and we can't even touch it. It is body, mind, and soul, and all of the old cultures, and don't ever forget that.
So hearing you speak gives me great hope, and what my last question is how do we move people, not in this room, obviously, if we're all kind of in the same place today, but how do we move people from that place of hope to action?
For me, it's through poetry and a sense of timing. And I know our time is up, but we started late, very late, Josh. And so knowledge, it's very interesting to be both in that sense of united consciousness and practical implementation. That's the trick, is to live with that wider view every step of the way.
I'll take up Penn's comment on imagination. The most important thing a child and you have is your imagination. This is a comment that Einstein made before his death. We as scientists, we go by a hunch. Oh my God, we're not brilliant. You run on a hunch, you think you're right. And in art, you go on a hunch. In music, you go on a hunch. Imagination is again the untouchable. It is from the soul and the mind. This is the important string we have amongst us, the love. Define love. Define what that is. Now that is what I call importance. And while I'm about it, I'm asking you all to be my ambassadors. Every single one of you touch 10 people. Get the word out. There is an answer to climate change. So you are my ambassadors. We will move this, not the fair politicians, just you from your kitchen table. Thank you.
I think we might be out of time, but I'm hoping that the powers that be will allow us time for one question. I don't know, unless I hear somebody bouncing back and forth in this back saying absolutely no. I don't know if anybody else has.
Josh, where are you? Are we done?
Oh. Okay. So do you want to choose? Yeah, there's a question. Okay, here.
I'm very concerned with the rapid damage that's being done to people all over the world, animals and nature. And finding those good people is great, but we need the speed, because we don't want to heal all this damage that's being done in the name of greed.
Yeah, that's right.
Let me address that one. It's happening. Let me address the media. I would like to hear some good media. I would not like to hear police reports every single day. There are people like me doing some extraordinary things, and I know people who are doing extraordinary things, but unfortunately right now, you never hear them. But believe me, it is happening.
I have moved here only in the last year. I'm a country person. I have grown 50 years in Oxford County nearby, and I have watched the absolute destruction of harmless roadside ditch, indigenous natural spring-fed pond, creek beds, natural wild culture by the forces of corporatized agriculture. And what I'm seeing is this province is rolling over for the agricultural lobby, and trees come down. I have watched trees come down 24 along roadsides that have grown there for 50 and 60 years in one day. And I've approached the county, I've approached governments, I've written, it gets ignored. If anyone here has another recourse, come to me, because I'll be your voice. And one of my frustrations is just to make everybody who's urbanized aware that in the country, farmers feed cities, farmers are destroying the planet, and I mean farmers in the corporate agriculture sense. So anyway, if you have anything to add or address that.
Let me just say.
Can you give me your address?
Yes.
And your contacts?
Yes.
Please make sure I have it in my hand.
Thank you.
We'll sort them out.
Yeah. on my little street, 14 trees were cut and 25 more are being cut for no reason except that the construction company damaged the roots, which are not going to, which will, according to Diana, replenish it within a year. However, in London, these trees were sentenced to death by a very nice man who is a landscape architect. The reforest London, fine, but our forest city has no forester. We have no urban forester. We had Ivan 10 years ago, we had Bruce. There is only this lovely man who is a landscape architect. So what we need is our urban forester to begin with. So we are having a meeting with City Council on this for our particular area, but we are like a metanon for one area speaks for the whole, right? So we'll be in touch.
Hi. I think that this issue also impacts the arts. It's really important to see this here today in Arts Festival. I have just published a book and had to argue with my editor who wanted to cut one of the stories from the book because she said she doesn't think young people will be interested in dairy farming. This was the story of a dairy farmer who befriended some urban kids who had moved in across the way. And so I fought, and the story is in the book, but don't let yourself be pushed over by editors who think they know better.
Or landscape architects. One more question.
Hi, thank you. I just want to say thank you because 20 years ago I bought 4 acres of real estate and everybody said I was crazy. And I planted trees every year and it's a forest now.
Wonderful.
And they still say I'm crazy.
That makes two of us.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That makes two of us.
And I took my mother's manicured lawn and let the volunteer trees come in. But I'm going to introduce to you Miguel Nenevi, who is a Brazilian professor from Puerto Velho, which is the center, if you know, of the Amazonian forest fires at the moment. He had me go all over. He's here to translate. But yeah, what's your question, Miguel?
It's not a question, but thank you for what I have heard here, listened to, and I would like to say that I am from the Amazon, and when you were talking about trees and forests and preservation, I was wishing people, agro-business people, like here I think we have similar problems, and the president, and our president, because he keeps saying that the Amazon is full of wealthy, it's very rich, and we should exploit everything. We should explore and go and cut the forest and so on. And he keeps repeating this. So we are very sad and very worried about that. So I wish some agribusiness people from the Amazon and our president would listen to you too. And I will translate something and also try to publish there. Okay, thank you.
I think it's time we're going to have to wrap up, unfortunately. But I would like to just take this opportunity to thank both Penn and Diana for showing up today and for the opportunity to actually moderate this discussion. Just a reminder that both Penn and Diana have books for sale out front. And thank you for coming.
And thank you.